So I wanted to speak about Kafka while I still have the idea in my head, but what do you think of Kafka as a writer? You said that or Megan really says that he has one-dimensional protagonists, and I would agree with that. I do think that he has two great books, The Trial and the Metamorphosis, and The Castle is sort of prefiguration. I think it may have actually come after The Trial, though, but a prefiguration of The Trial. And then he has a bunch of other tales like the Judgment and things like that, which I
Hunger
think are
Artist.
out and out shit. Um, and then a few parables that may be memorably phrased, but not much as far as literature. But so, what do you think of him? I think that he had a lot of talent, but he couldn't get past the one basic story he was trying to tell.
Yeah, and that's the problem with a lot of artists, even those that do stumble into greatness. You know, someone like uh, Charles Johnson wrote two what I would consider great books, and then not really much after that. William Kennedy, who's probably the greatest living American writer who's been published by a major house, has maybe four or five arguably great books, and then he's got another six or seven that are good, solid to very good books. And so he's probably the best published writer out there. But by the same token, even if you go back in time and you look like, I think you were talking about Tennessee Williams having a number of plays, and then he did his later plays where he tried to expand himself and he just fell on his face. Most artists, it seems, most artists, it seems, have one or two things that move them, and I think I'm fortunate because I'm not moved by just I'm not moved just by social justice. I'm not just moved by the need to express myself. I I'm moved by anything that comes in that I find interesting. I can take, and I know, oh, if I'm going to write about, let's say, if I was walking with Jessica somewhere and I heard a cricket or saw, say, the remains of a dead dove or something. That might trigger something. And maybe I remember something back on Coney Island when I was 6 years old with my dad. And so I'll connect the dead dove that I see with Jessica in 3 months with something that happened when I was 6 with my dad. And there's where a play, or if I was writing novels at the time, the thing with plays is I feel a desire in the last couple of years to get to the emotional immediacy that a drama can do, but also the depth. And I found even with, like I said, with a lot of the modern masters, they didn't really, they moved well beyond Shakespeare, but they didn't, after you got the Ibsens and the Shaws and the guys at the early turn of the century, O'Neill, you didn't move that much with people like Williams and Miller and even August Wilson. And right now, theater is, on life support. I mean, the stuff that's being put out, that's being written, that's being bandied about as great art is just crap. I mean, I literally, there's not a single one of my 44 plays that I finished that isn't head and shoulders above anything that's come out in the last 40 years.
Are you familiar with any playwrights in the last 40 years who have some substance to them besides people like August Wilson?
Oh, I mean, certainly Sam Shepard, David Mamet have some early stuff. The woman who did the House of Blue Leaves, and then there's a couple of female writers that off the top of my head I don't recall. But again, these are people that have, 10, 15 years older than me. They've been in theater for 35 or 40 years, and they've written maybe 8, 10 plays at the most, and only one or two are good. I mean, it's that piddling amount. I mean, literally, just in any 3 month period of the last year and a half, I've written 3 or 4 times the output of what any other playwright has in terms of quality.
Yeah, it is. It's hard to sort of state of the theater, and especially when it's populated mostly with Hamilton and Aladdin to replace it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the Hamilton one, from what I've heard about it, it's a musical. It has, I think it is in the tradition of musicals, but Aladdin is just absolute crass commercialism. It's the Spider-Man play, similarly, the Lion King play. I mean, come on.